Okay, welcome back to this second week in 2018. We're going to talk one more week about creating clarity of vision because there's a few more things we need to cover. 4 blog posts ago, we talked about how to create a compelling vision, and then 3 podcasts ago, we talked about how to translate your vision into goals. And last week, we talked about how to become a goal setting master. This week, I would call it Goal Setting Mastery Level 2. And let's dive into it. What am I talking about? At one time, it was considered the secret of the successful. What is that secret? The secret is that thoughts are things that transcend space and time. And several blog posts ago, I asked you to take a look at your life seriously over the last 10 years. You can go 20 years or whatever you want. And take a look at what you were thinking 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and where are you at now? And if you're completely honest with yourself, you have created everything that you've been thinking about. So if you don't like where you're at and you don't like what's going on in your life, start by taking a look at your thinking. Of course, there's some things beyond thinking that you need to do, but start there because thoughts are things, and thoughts are the things that go out into the universe and start things in motion to come your direction. And there's a couple of books over the last 100 years or so that I'm going to talk about today that you can read. They're both available in paper and audible form so that you can get a little more information on this thought of thoughts or things. So let's dive into the first one, and probably the most well-known book on this topic, which is Think and Grow Rich. It was published during the 1930s Depression initially, but by 2015 had sold over 100 million copies. So if you haven't read it yet, I would suggest you get a hold of it. It's obviously a very popular book, and for a reason. Napoleon Hill was asked to go out and meet with a bunch of successful people back in the early part of the 20th century and take a look at what they were doing that created their success. And he came up with 17 success principles. I want to walk through them real quickly here to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, but you can definitely go read the book for more details. So principle success number 1 was developing definiteness of purpose. And that's why several blog posts ago, we talked about creating your vision. So you got to have definite of purpose. Principle number 2 is creating a mastermind alliance. And I am actually in 3 different masterminds for different reasons of goals that I have that I want to work on. So you don't have to limit yourself to one mastermind. There are things that you can work on in different areas of your life with different masterminds that have different focuses. What is a mastermind? A mastermind is a collection or a collaboration of 2 or more minds working together towards the attainment of a common goal. So I would encourage you, if you're not operating in a mastermind, to find people with like-minded goals and team up with them because there's power in numbers. Principle of success number 3, using applied faith, or as my coach likes to say, faith over facts. Because faith is a state of mind. It's the awareness that our goals, desires, plans, and purposes will materialize through our actions in the physical realm. So just start with your thoughts, followed by faith, and you will start to produce the results you're looking for. Principle number 4 is going the extra mile. And what I mean by that is, I think we've all heard that before, it's giving more than you receive, with a positive mental attitude of gratitude. We talked about that several weeks ago. Principle of success number 5, embodying a pleasing personality. So if you're not fun to be around, you're not going to attract people to you. So be fun to be around and have a positive mental attitude. Principle of success number 6, taking personal initiative. This reminds me of this story where the guy was in church praying to win the lottery. And he didn't understand why he hadn't won the lottery. And then he heard a voice from heaven say, it would help if you bought a ticket. So you have to take initiative and get things started. if you're a procrastinator, you're never going to be successful and achieve all the things that you want. So start by taking action. Principle number 7 is cultivating a positive mental attitude, and we've talked about that already in a couple of the other principles, but your mindset is the only thing you have complete control of. So a positive mental attitude attracts opportunities to you. Take a look again at what you're thinking. Principle number 8, acting with enthusiasm. Enthusiasm, it comes from Greek, and it actually means filled with God, or filled with, the God energy. So if you're not filled up with a burning desire that comes from your faith, then you're not going to have the energy to succeed. Principle number 9, practice self-discipline. I'm going to talk in the future about building good habits, but you need to have self-discipline and habits, and we'll talk about ways that you can develop self-discipline and habits to do the same things over and over and over again every day to take you to where you want to go. Principle number 10, accurate thinking. You can have tons of thoughts, but you need to separate fact from information and actively categorize and prioritize the facts so that you can think accurately. Principle success number 11, control your attention. Controlled attention is the principle that commands us to focus actively and exclusively on those things we desire to achieve. And I'm going to talk more about that next week. I like to think of it as being present. Stay tuned for that. Principle number 12, building teamwork. This goes back to the mastermind. You can't do all this alone. You need to build a team of people that can help you shore up your weaknesses on the way to achieving your goals. So think about building a team to take you to where you want to go. Don't be a lone wolf. Principle number 13, learn from adversity and defeat. So you have a choice when things don't go your way of how to interpret those experiences. They can either be that you're a loser or you're never going to be successful, or they can be that you are failing forward. In other words, you're learning from your failures of how not to do things. So take on that attitude as you're approaching your goals this year. Principle 14, attaining creative vision. We've talked a lot about visioning already, but learn to use your imagination beyond the fear and imposed limitations that you might have from experiences in your life to create the vision that you want. We're going to talk more about how to remove fear and anxiety from your thinking in the future. Stand by for that. Principle 15, maintain sound health. If you don't have good health, you really don't. It's just going to be a distraction from achieving greatness. So you have to have good health. If you are not in good health at this point and you're dealing with a lot of health issues, just start there this year. Build a foundation of health this year. Have that be your theme so that next year you can really have the physical abilities to go out and create great things. Principle 16, budgeting of your time and money. So time is the other thing next to health that is something we all have, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. So one exercise you can do is sit down and lay out, what does your perfect day look like? And if you're working Monday through Friday, you might want to look at what does your perfect Monday through Friday look like? And what does your perfect Saturday and Sunday look like? So that you have an idea of every day how you're going to approach it. So you don't have to make decisions. It's just run the game plan every day. And then take a look at your money and how you can save and channel the money towards the achievement of your goals. Principle number 17, establish positive habits. We talked about that earlier in practicing self-discipline, principle number 9, but we will talk more about building positive habits that result in a happy, healthful, successful you. And when you develop a positive habit, the habit develops you, and your life is the result of the habits that you have formed. So building habits, extremely important. We'll talk more about it in the future. All right, that's Napoleon Hill. I want to move on to another book that many people haven't heard of, but it's one of my all-time favorites, The Science of Getting Rich. And some people are by Wallace Wattles, and some people are put off by the title. But I would say look past the title, give this book a chance. It's one of the most succinct books that you'll find on this concept of thoughts or things. And if you don't have a lot of time, I'd encourage you to read chapter 4, 7, 11, and 14. So chapter 4 talks about the fact that thoughts are things. And Wallace is very eloquent in how he talks about that. Chapter 7 talks about gratitude. If you go back, you remember the second blog post that I did was on building a foundation of gratitude, and that's part of the model here for manifesting. Gratitude is extremely important. So if you're not grateful for what you have, go read chapter 7. Chapter 11 is about taking action. Remember, with The Science of Getting Rich, we talked about principle number 8 is acting with enthusiasm, that you got to act. We also talked about you got to build from taking personal initiative, principle number 6. So action is very important. If you're not taking action, you're never going to get there. And chapter 14 is probably one of my favorite chapters. It talks about the fact that growth and expansion is the nature of the universe, that everything is set up for growth and expansion. And I know that might rub some people the wrong way because they say, well, we don't have enough resources for things to grow infinitely. And I don't necessarily buy into that thinking. I think that we can continue to grow if we do it smartly and expand. And I think the goal of humanity is to grow on Maslow's hierarchy from the lowest needs level to the highest needs level. And we all are headed in that direction. So if you think about it that way, I'm not talking about growth that requires a lot of physical resources. I'm talking about moving from having our basic needs satisfied to a place of self-actualization. Okay. Love The Science of Getting Rich. Check it out. And a book I found recently, Prayer Energy, written in 2009, is a very interesting book that I'm still kind of absorbing, but I like the concept of that prayer is really thought. When you pray, it's sending out thoughts to the universe and asking for, in many cases, things to be manifested in your life. In some cases, prayers are prayers of gratitude, which is also important. But this book of Prayer Energy, and the subtitle here is Rediscover the Power of Prayer to Bring About Change. What we're talking about here in this blog is a manifestation model. Manifestation is just change, moving you towards where you want to be in your life. So I really like this book, highly recommend it. And again, it's a newer book. So as I learn more and absorb more about this book, I'll probably share more in the future. Check it out. And finally, for this week, you need to have a process for reviewing your goals and looking for the most optimal actions to take. Remember, we said action is important. Looking for the most optimal actions to take every day to move you towards your goals. So I'm going to recommend a cadence here, and I have a picture of a metronome. Is a metronome is all about cadence and beat, and that you have to have a regular beat to your life of how you look at your goals. So there's a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual process that I'll outline in a future blog post. But every morning, in addition to writing down what you're grateful for, take a few minutes to pull out your goals, review them for the day, and go, what is the one thing that I can do today to move myself forward? And then weekly, I like to do it on Sundays, day of rest. Look back at the week. Look at what worked, what didn't work, and make decisions on the week upcoming. Monthly, take a look at how did the month go, and what do you need to shift or adjust to move you towards your goals. Quarterly, we talked last week about the 12-week year and really laying your actions out in a quarterly basis and having quarterly level goals, and I love that book. So think about setting up quarterly 12-week plans and using that 13th week of the quarter to look at what happened, plan for the next quarter. And of course, annually, which is the way most people think about goals, is good. But if you're only looking at your goals once a year, that's not good. So daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually. The best thing to do annually, and I might drive this down to a quarterly level, is what is your theme? What is your theme for the year? I was talking to my wife about this a couple days ago, and she said, I don't know what my theme is for the year. I said, well, and I'm not sure I need one. I said, well, you need a theme, because a theme is going to help guide the actions and decisions that you make throughout the year. So if you haven't created a theme yet for 2018, we're only in the second week. So think about that and get your theme laid out and post it on your mirror and put it on your desk and have that right in front of you. Is what is this that in 2018 you're going to create? And I'll end with that today. And I'm looking forward to next week for moving beyond clarity of vision to the next step in the manifesting model. Have a great week.